gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the life of a clown. So, first off, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I've got some online work, thank God. Josh was home, my 17-year-old. Pandemic, 17-year-old doesn't go well together. Luckily, my 22-year-old's in New Jersey with his girlfriend and her family, so that's better. How about you?
I'm doing good. We should also probably do introductions, because I failed to do that. So, for people who may not know you by name, though I think most people listening to the podcast will have, Jeff, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Jeff Raz. We know each other, Abraham, through the Clown Conservatory, which I founded with Peggy Ford in 2000, and I left in 2010. I've been part of the circus community in the Bay Area for a long time. I love it deeply. And after many years of performing and directing, which I still do a little, I've written 3 books now that are all loosely taken from the community here.
I've been reading the chapters you've been sending out of Love, Death, and Circus. Do I have that right?
Love, Death, Circus. I didn't put the "and" in.
And I've been enjoying them a lot. There's obviously drawing on real life and people that I knew and were heavily impactful in my life as well. So it's been really nice reminiscing with them and getting someone else's perspective on those memories. So that's been really interesting to me.
That's an interesting idea, this perspective on memories. Yeah. I have felt like as I'm writing that, or as I was writing it, that some days I felt great. It was like hanging out with my friends who are no longer here. And some days it was like, why am I reliving this?
So, jumping back a bit to your family, how are they adapting to what's going on in the world, to coronavirus, to COVID-19? How are they adapting to the state of the world as it is right now?
Basically really well. My older son his college went virtual. So I just saw a picture of him and his girlfriend both taking the same quiz, sitting in their unmade bed, at 7 in the afternoon in the evening or whatever. So I think he's doing really well. My younger son loves he's in a one-on-one school. He's had a rough few years and he's killing it. So he's just great. He just loves virtual learning. It fits him perfectly.
My current job is a manager of a school for the arts at a community center, and we've been trying to do our musical theater class online. So you can imagine 40 adolescents on a Zoom call trying to practice Hakuna Matata and or the dance moves that go along with it. So
wow,
an experiment at the very least, yeah.
Wow. It's amazing to me that the different classes, Doyle Ott, who we both know, is doing his commedia classes online. You're doing a musical. And sometimes it works really well. I think sometimes it doesn't.
Well, I think for a lot of it for us is just giving the kids a connection to their community, it is for a community center, so reinforcing that sense of community and connection and letting them spend time with their friends that they would normally see for a number of hours a week, for at least an hour every week to make that connection. Speaking of connecting to your social support network, how are you doing that?
Connecting with social support?
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. The consulting company that I've worked with for almost a decade, of course, suddenly we lost all the live work, but we've done a lot of stuff virtually. So we're trying this big push to go virtual, and the leadership team decided to put some money into giving us a stipend to work for 2 weeks to upgrade our video meeting chops.
Nice.
And innovate on it. And then now we're in the second set of 2 weeks. I love the innovation, but truthfully, I've gotten to hang out in different configurations with my colleagues more than I ever have before, because usually we have to see each other only at an airport to go fly somewhere to do a session together, real intense. It's like a 1 or 2 day performance where you're just there and then back home, and you might not see him for 6 months. We've been seeing each other every day. My wife has not had that. My mother-in-law is 99 next week. She had to go to the hospital about a month ago, ended up getting a pacemaker put in. The cardiologist asked, okay, what questions do you have? She goes, when can I go back to Pilates? Because that's really what she wants to do. But it was like a race against time. Can we get her home before, it's in Ohio, can we get her home before the COVID-19 cases start coming in? And we did. And she's home. And so Sherry's been with the family, long distance coordinating so her 99-year-old mother can get back to Pilates.
Very nice. I mean, sad, but nice. Yeah. But the staying connected is really difficult. My personal support group is in another city myself, and I would normally go there once a week and spend time with them and almost entirely shut off, except for playing board games over Zoom.
How do you play a board game over Zoom?
It's actually it's more of a hybrid phone computer game thing. They're called Jackbox. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but it's drawing or different kinds of social and party games that you can play with a group, but you can do them on Google Hangouts or Zoom without having to be in the same room together if you want to.
That's very cool.
If I could work for any company in the world, it would probably be that company. They're huge innovators, and this pandemic, I think, has been a boon for them because everyone knows about them now. So, your family, your social network, your clown. Where is your clown these days? How does it get to express itself? How do you let that out or keep it in check? And where does that energy to perform and that impulse to perform, where do you direct that now?
So I have less of that energy to perform than I did when I was younger. I performed, as you know, many, many shows for many, many years. But it does, the truth is, it does come out. Actually, my colleagues, we were just on one of those, how do you upgrade this medium? And we were using this, it was adjusting a game called I Share Common Ground to a Zoom platform. And it was working. It was really cool. But one of the questions was, it starts with, everybody go on your video if you drink coffee. Boom, and good. All right, if you drink tea. Boom. And then it moves on. And one of the fun things, one of my colleagues is, if you can juggle. Okay, good. Stay on if you can juggle 3 objects, 4 objects, 5 objects. Of course, I'm the only one on there, and everyone's going, ho, Jeff. So we took a break, and I went and got my juggling hatchets. I have these big monster-looking things, and I juggled them on Zoom. That was certainly my performance showing off.
Yeah.
I also have all over my desk, I have toys all over my desk because when I'm working with my colleagues, but also even with my clients, everyone's in everyone else's home. I may be working with some big CEO, but they're home, and when a kid comes on, I go, oh, hello, hold on a second. Hi. Help me out here. And then they go, okay, he's fine as a communications consultant, but he kept my kid amused for 7 minutes. Thank God. Which, for people with kids, this is not the easy time.
Absolutely. So let's talk some more about the new book.
Sure.
So at the beginning, what was the impetus to start writing this one?
The real impetus was that I like writing. My first book, The Secret Life of Clowns, that took 10 years. And most of that 10 years was not fun. But and finally, when I hired my editor, he really gave me basically in 6 to 8 months of taking me from something I thought was a book and he knew was an outline to something that people were willing to read. It basically took me through a master's class in how to write. And then the second book, I said, oh, this is, now I know, once I know a structure, then I can enjoy it. So that was the real impetus. I also knew I had a really good beginning. I knew what the structure was, and I knew what the ending was, which I usually don't. But I knew the beginning was going to be that scene that was a real scene. I'll say the real names of the people. When I was, it's a Sunday morning, I had to park 5 blocks away from our tow. It's raining. I got my costumes, and Paoli was supposed to be directing Peggy's memorial, but she'd gotten really sick from the chemo, and my mom was dying on the other side of the bridge, and I was walking there to start the tech at 8 in the morning, grouchy as hell, and my phone rings, and it's Cirque du Soleil saying, can you come, I don't remember where in Europe, tomorrow. And so that to me, I thought, I've got the whole book in one scene. I have to write the book. It's already, that whole first scene's written. And then I enjoyed, I don't know if you know the writer, Carl Hyacin?
No, I don't.
Oh, Abraham, I think you would enjoy it. Do you like mysteries?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay. Get the next Carl Hyacin you can, because he was a Florida journalist, and now he writes mysteries, and they just go over the top. One of the first I read, one of the characters has lost his arm to an alligator, so he gets an edger, one of those edgers that you edge your lawn with, and he manages to put it on, so he's like Captain Hook with this edger. You get it. So I read a lot of Carl Hyacin to try to get the death part, because that was in the story, and the love part's in the story. But I also wanted to smash, wild ideas and wild characters right up against that reality. So far in the book that I've posted, it hasn't gotten to the wilder scenes, but there are some wilder moments.
So, do you mind talking a little bit about Peggy and Paoli?
No, I don't. I love talking about it.
So, for people who don't know, tell us about Peggy first. Who was she? Who was she to you and to the Clown Conservatory and to clowns in general?
So Peggy was one of the first women to graduate from Clown College, Ringling Clown College. She went out on tour. She was, in those days, they took half the folks for the tour, and she got on the unit, and she got cancer and had to come off. And I met her when she had just come off, just recovering from cancer, coming to San Francisco. And then she became one of the innovators and the nurturers of a couple of generations of circus folks in the Bay Area. Her main vehicle was Make a Circus. Make a Circus did free shows in parks, usually in parks in areas that are seriously underserved. And she would write a lot of them. She wrote one that I directed. She was not performing much, but she would do an elf every year at Christmas. She was a makeup expert. And she and I started the Clown Conservatory together, so she was my partner for 10 years in that. And she was great. She's, in The Secret Life of Clowns, I write about her too. Like, she had kind of the final word on people coming in. But her final word was never the thumbs down. She would always surprise me by saying, oh, that person who just did a terrible audition needs to be here. And I go, you're out of your mind. And she goes, no, they're in. And I'd go, what? And invariably, after a couple of years, I didn't go what anymore, because she was right. She had an incredible ability to find some kind of essence. I don't know, not the essence, but some kind of essence in people, and go to see, oh, if we work together, this is going to come out. And that's going to be good. And I know how to nurture this person. Yeah, that, I don't know if that's there's a line in the book, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's one of the posted chapters where I get to describe her, and I use it off the negative, which was in her obituary, it said she matriculated from clown college. So I took one of the characters going, matriculated from clown college. That's a stupid, you don't matriculate. And then her character never matriculated. She strutted, she teased, she challenged, she loved, but she never matriculated. And that really was her. She challenged, she'd give people hell, and she also understood what a community meant, and she knew how to make a community and keep a community. Even so, like as the director, she would meet with people to talk bad about me. Like if a student was having trouble with me, she'd meet them, and Paoli would too, and they'd talk trash about me, and then Peggy would come back to me and say, "You need to stop doing this, this, and this." And I would go, "Okay." And she knew that student, it wasn't safe to come to me, but it was sure safe to go to her, and they could be pretty sure most of the time that she would take their side and would come to me, and she had so much trust and integrity that you listen.
I loved Peggy dearly, and we were all very sad when she left us. But I got to work with her at the Circus Center when I was working there as their director of special projects, and that was really excellent. Get to work side by side with her. That was very special to me personally to have that with me. I remember my audition for the Clown Conservatory went very badly. Went just remarkably badly. My piece was not one I'd ever actually performed, despite having been told the piece that you've done in front of people numerous times. I'd never performed it before. You guys,
and I think you told us that too, if I remember. Oh, did
correctly. I? Well, that was not good. I've always been a little too honest.
Led with that. I think you led with that. Yeah.
But I know at one point you guys had us do the thing where we're improvising. Trying to sell you a folding chair using nothing but the alphabet. And my background was, to a degree, in barroom professional wrestling. So I gave myself a couple of good swats over the head with it, and Peggy looked out the window and never looked back for the rest of my audition. At least that was the impression. I don't think that's actually true, but the impression is that I had gone too far, and I was so surprised to find myself there within, and accepted, and it to be such a huge part of my life going forward. So yeah, Peggy was impactful on me in a lot of ways. The other primary focus, at least from what I've seen of the book so far, is Paoli. So Peggy Ford and Paoli Lacey. What can you tell us about who Paoli was?
Paoli also went to clown college, but she didn't get in to the tour. And I was in a show. This is early on, a funky show called Everybody's Family Circus. And it was a very tight show. Some of my best friends to this day came from when I was in that show. And I remember he said this woman who just finished clown college is going to come join us in a rehearsal. And we were rehearsing in Park in Noe Valley. And so we're rehearsing out there, and this is funky, hippie circus. And here she comes in her full clown college regalia. Full, neat white with braids up here, clown college flap shoes. And I thought, oh, Jesus, no way. No way. Like, this is, I can't work with this person. But they kind of knew her, and my okay. But we did not, we were like, not getting, for about a month until accidentally realized that her younger sister had been my best friend in high school. Now, first of all, the two people could miss that for a month was amazing. But then we started talking about Cindy, and then I started not judging so much, and I think she started losing some of the clown college-ness of it, and we then worked together and we lived together in a big house with a bunch of folks in 78, and she became really a very close friend. And in 1986, I broke up with a longtime girlfriend and was not doing well living in an apartment, and she came over one day and said, "This isn't working." And I said, "What's not working?" "You're going to move in with me, so let's start packing." And I said, "I am?" She said, "Oh yes, let's go." And her roommate was moving out. I moved in, and we lived together in the Mission on Tiffany Street for, I don't know if it was a decade, but close to a decade.
It's amazing. Now, we lost Paoli not that long ago either. At least it doesn't seem that long to me. But she took over for you when you left for Corteo, right? Or no, she took over for you when you left the Clown Conservatory.
Yeah, she took over. Well, Patty, Joan Mencken, and Paoli were the multi-headed serial folks. But yes, when I left the Clown Conservatory, she took over and had brilliant stuff worked out, and then she got cancer.
Yeah, it seems to be a recurring theme in our community, in our world, and that right now we are just surrounded by this thick, heavy blanket of imminent doom that seems to be everywhere. How are you relating to your own mortality and that of your loved ones through this period?
You got right to a very important place. My worries most of the time center around my family. I don't think I'd tell my family this, but I would much rather I got sick and even that I died than any of them. And I can't even imagine my kids getting sick, though they're in the demographic who have a 98% chance of recovery, thank God. But even so, I can't think of it. But, late at night or in the middle of the night when I'm not sleeping, I also can get into some panic about what it would mean to have your lungs stop working. My wife and both of my kids have some asthma, and they know what it feels like when the lungs aren't working. I don't. It's horrible. And I do, but you put those questions up against Paoli and Peggy, because in those, there's been a lot of folks dying. A lot of folks have died in my life, and I've been there with them. I've always been pretty healthy, so I know that, and as a medical clown, I know the things to do on the other side, which is a very comfortable side, grief notwithstanding. It's very different than lying there in the bed. I think a lot about this thing that Paoli said that is in the book. It's a spoiler alert. This will come in. But when we were working out, I was her executor, and we were working out the healthcare directive. The guiding star she told me around her healthcare directive was, am I useful? She said, if I'm not useful, I got no reason to be here sucking oxygen. I said, are you really sure that's what you want to do? And Paoli, he comes from this really practical background, and her folks are psychologists and a psychiatrist and a crazy-ass family, but she comes from this very practical. She's from Amish country, so she got some of that Amish, even though she's not Amish. So that was her thing, if I'm not useful. And then at some point she wasn't, and we went to hospice, and then she said that it all worked out around a rabbi because she wanted the prayer to not be a chicken shit. She felt like she was going to be a chicken shit about dying, and no way she was going to be a chicken shit about dying. And I think about that a lot. How much of a chicken shit could I get that prayer to not be a chicken shit if I was dying? And I don't know if she was a chicken shit when she died or not.
Well, there's no way to tell. But in the book, you put yourself in the shoes of Paoli, and I assume at some point to a degree of Peggy as well. I think that is an incredible gift to the people who didn't get to know them personally, or maybe who didn't get to know them to the degree that you did, getting to a deeper feeling for who they were from your work. And I think that's some of the importance of the book that you're working on right now. Now it's called Love Death Circus, and your other two books are The Snow Clown and Secret Life of Clowns.
I love it. You know all my books.
Okay. So, yes. When is Love Death Circus done? When will it be published? When is it coming out? What are we looking for?
I don't have an answer for any one of those except the first. The book itself is finished.
Oh, great.
And I was just at the cranky point of saying I don't want to self-publish again. And I met with my publicist, now my ex-publicist, but we still talk a lot. And we were talking about a strategy for getting a publisher and an agent. And then we were talking about, well, does it seem like it might work as a screenplay? And then I said, what if we skip the trying to get a publisher, because right now the publishing world is not in great shape, and look at it as a screenplay. So when the pandemic came, I said, listen, I'm going to start rolling this out like a serial, not like this kind of cereal, but a cereal like
The Shadow.
The Shadow, yes. And chapter a week, and sometimes this week I did 2 chapters on my website. My chapters are very short, purposely made them short because there's a staccato feel to the piece that I'm trying to get, and having short chapters help me write it. So it's written as a book. I hope I've had some folks who are screenwriter friends who've looked at it and say they think it quite easily scales. To them, it reads like the Bible of a serial, which is essentially the novel written to give the directors and writers knowledge of the characters and their ongoing iterations. Said, well, that you just started the other way. So it may do that. It may just live on my website and be free to people to read. I don't know.
Well, it's excellent. I hope everyone checks it out.
Thank you.
On your website, which is
jeffraz.com. You can also go to thesecretlifeofclowns.com.
And that's Raz with 1 Z.
1 Z. You put 2 Z's, you will not get there.
Yeah.
No book, 2 Z's.
Well, before we wrap up, supposedly this first shelter in place, though I'm of the impression we're going to have to do another shelter in place come the winter once it blooms back up again. This shelter in place is supposed to end, hopefully, in just a couple of weeks. What are you going to do?
Well, my wife's cousin, Larry Brilliant, is one of the big epidemiologists in the world, and he does not think it's going to end in a couple of weeks.
Oh.
So I don't think so. He thinks we're in for a year to 18 months, not of shelter in place necessarily, but as you said, of returning. And then the flu of 1919 went around the world 3 times. But that's not answering your question. I think that shelter in place, I think, is going to actually ease up in spits and starts. California's been good. I love good politicians now.
Yeah.
I have a deep love for good politicians and public health, heads of public health districts. Alameda has not been hit hard. We're in good shape. I will not start traveling as much as I traveled for my business consulting. I've been traveling, doing a 2-day gig in Singapore or a day and a half in Munich. That's part of the job. I will try to do that less and work more here. I actually kind of love commuting the 7 steps from my back porch to my office in the backyard and then commuting those 7 steps back. My wife would rather I took a few more trips so that she could have the house to herself. But I'm not sure what else. I think, like everyone, I will be poorer in money and certainly poorer in connection and hugs. And I will I think I'll try to see more shows, to be with folks. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Jeff, I think that's all the questions I had. I'm glad that you're doing well and you're staying safe, and that you're continuing to produce material for us to keep us enriched and enlightened, and I value that a lot.
You make me really happy. Thanks for doing this. I love talking to you. You know that, and I'm just glad for the connection in these times, which I get. Everything has got those two. You're making work and you're making connections at the same time. Yeah. But I say this very truthfully. You have some Peggy in you. You have that sense of always trying to make community. You do it differently than she does, but I was not surprised to hear from you in this moment saying, let's find this way to make a little community, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Well, I guess that's it for today. Everyone go to jeffraz.com or thesecretlifeofclowns.com and check out Love Death Circus. And Jeff, I'll talk to you again real soon.
Take care.
See you, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. This program, as always, is made possible by your support through our Patreon, which you can find through www.picklewater.com.